Welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to be working on this 07 Subaru Impreza. I'm going to pull the motor out. It needs a new clutch and then a couple other things. So first off, go ahead and drain the radiator. Drain it, the spigot's over here on this passenger side. So drain that and then pull the battery out. And then once you pull that battery out, you can go ahead and pull this air box off with the 10 there, and a couple hose clamps. And then undo the hose going to it. Probably gonna take the hood off just to make it easier as well. Go ahead and pull off this plastic cover underneath before you drain the coolant. You got a couple 12s and then a couple push clips. Okay, get the air box taken out, the battery taken out. And on the air box, you have two 12s on the side of it. That'll help take it off. Now I'm gonna move on to the radiator. So I'm gonna do this hose, undo that hose, and then you got two 12s. You have a plug over here for the fan and one on this other side under this reserve. So on these reserves, you have a little button here, or it's two 10s depending on the year. The little tab here you push in and then you twist it to pull it out, and then down there you're gonna have a fan. And then if you are an automatic, you're gonna have two of your transmission cooler lines going down there as well, and you're gonna have to undo those too. So let's pull that out, undo this hose down here, undo both the fans, and pull these 12s off to pull that radiator out. The radiator's all out. Undo these belts. I wanna disconnect the AC. So undo the belts, pull the alternator, pull the AC off, and then probably pull the power steering and put it off to the side as well. And then undo all your plugs that are going to the motor. So basically that one, undo your fuel lines, undo this brake booster line, and then you got a couple coolant lines back here to the heater core, and then probably move on to the bell housing bolts and the starter. So pull the starter out with a couple 14s, and then we'll do the bell housing bolts, and then we'll go under the car. So let me pull all that stuff off. So you got it for the alternator, you got a couple 12s to loosen up the belt. You got one here. Just loosen it, loosen that one, and then zip that down to take the belt off, and then pull that one out and that one all the way out to pull it off. Undo this and the plug. And then for the AC, got a couple 14s. So what I did was take off the 4 14s for the AC. You got one over here, one in the back, one on the left, and one on the front. Now to move this power steering, you got 3 12s. You got one there and two up front. And then you also got this plug to undo. Let's crawl into the car. We got 3 14s right here for this exhaust to pop it down. And then you also have one over here, right there. Bring the exhaust out of the way. Also, you have 2 14s, one here and one on this side for the motor mounts. The couple for the bell housing bolts that you cannot reach from the top. So you got probably one right here, right here. And then I'm also going to get the bottom of the starter one while I'm down here. And then we'll pop back up and get that starter one all the way out. Clutch slave cylinder with these two 12s, and I gotta undo these fuel lines still, but other than that, it looks like it's pretty much ready to get pulled. So we'll pop those off real quick, flip that up out of the way, and then get set up to pull the motor. And now I got everything disconnected, hooked up to the motor. Let's pull it out. And when you do that, you're probably gonna have to break this bell housing loose, so use a couple flatheads or a pry bar. Now I got the motor pulled out. I'm gonna pop this flywheel or this clutch plate off in the flywheel, see if anything is leaking back there. I'm gonna pull this timing cover off, check the seals. So let's start off up here. You need a 22 to crank pulley off, and then a whole bunch of 10s around. So we'll pull that off real quick. Pull the clutch off. You got a couple 12s, I think 6 of them. And then after that, you got the flywheel to pull off, and then a bunch of 14s. You gotta take off those 14 10mm bolts. I already took the headers off. 6 12s, 3 on each side. And then I'm pulling the oil pan off next. And then after that, we'll put the flywheel and clutch and pressure plate back on. And I'll pop that oil pan off real quick first and reseal it, put it back on. And now that I got the oil pan on, I regasketed the oil pan. And I put the headers back on. I'm going to put the flywheel on. Torque it down to 52. But before we put the flywheel on, we're going to put the pilot bearing in here, and once you put it in there, give it a good old hit with the dead blow, nice and evenly. So get that on, go ahead and torque it down, and I always do a star pattern so it goes on evenly. Pressure plate on, but make sure you wipe down the surface, get all the oils off, and clean the surface. When you put the clutch on, this thicker spot goes towards the transmission. So you want the plate that way. Sometimes they say it on the disc. This one happened not to. I will put the link in the description of the clutch I used. All right, Once you got that on, and this clutch key slides in and out fairly easy and lines up, you're good. Take it out. But when you do torque down the clutch plate, I go back and forth through a star pattern as usual, and I torque it down to, it says 11.8, I usually go 12. Your next step would be to get the throwout bearing set up. So to put these throwout bearings on, they literally slide right on over it, and then you got these two little clips slide up over like that. This one comes up and over the top, and this one comes up over the bottom, holding it in place. Now that we got the throwout bearing all in there, we'll go ahead and get set up to put the motor back in. Best bet is jack up your transmission, and then you line up these dowels. Now that you got the motor in, I'm gonna go underneath, get both the motor mounts locked down. I'm going to also put the exhaust on with those 3 bolts, and then that one bolt that goes up and holds the exhaust up, bell housing bolts from underneath that I can't get from up top. So let's get all that hooked up and then drop the car back down. We're going to move on to putting the starter in, and then I'm going to put the slave cylinder in as well. I plugged in that plug over there, got that bracket all mounted back up, and then while I'm over here, I'm going to hook these 2 coolant lines up. Now that I got everything buttoned up in the back, AC compressor, bolt that in. And I'll move over to the power steering, bolt that back in, put the alternator back on. Now that that's all buttoned up, we're gonna drop that radiator in, get those plugged in, and get the coolant lines hooked up. Now that I got the radiator in, all the plugs plugged in, I'm gonna put the overfill on, and then I'm gonna put the air box back on, put the battery in, and then we'll top the fluids off. Got everything hooked up, battery all plugged in, fluids all filled up. So with that being said, let's get that first start. Make sure you check for leaks, everything underneath. I'm gonna put the hood back on, take it around the block. I'll probably gotta adjust the clutch. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you guys in those next episodes.